I remember, sleeping with them, um, and their bed was like the best bed ever. It was like seemed like the tallest bed ever, and like the blankets were just perfect. The pillows were perfect. It was the coolest room in the house, temperature wise, and probably the safest I've ever felt sleeping between them, and definitely the best sleep I've ever gotten. I can remember that, but you know, um, us grandkids, it was the summer, so we would get up whenever we wanted, essentially, but typically we would get up fairly early because that's what you do in the desert. You take advantage of the cooler temperatures in the morning, and my nana would make us each um, our own breakfast, like eggs to order, and she always made me scrambled eggs wrapped in a tortilla, and that just became a staple, like even as an adult. Like I can't count the number of times where breakfast, lunch, or dinner, being single, like I ate eggs and tortilla and that was it, and I was so happy with that. But I also think of my tata and like him coming home from work every day. He had this um, black lunchbox with the two little snaps, old school lunchbox, which I'm sure you've seen. And he would, I never knew this. I didn't understand, as a kid, I'm like 5, 6, 7 years old. I didn't understand why he would never eat his desserts from work. Like, why would he always have leftover desserts? And also, where were they coming from? Because I could never find them in the house. So if my nana was putting them in his lunch, they had to be hidden somewhere in the house. It wasn't late until later, that I learned that he would make a special trip to the convenience store every day after work to put in a um, Hostess cupcakes, the little snowballs, not Hostess cupcakes, but the snowballs with like the pink marshmallow on the outside. But in addition to that, he would always save one bean burrito wrapped in wax paper. And it was like, his tabernacle. It was my Tata's tabernacle. Like we would every afternoon, us grandkids would race to be the first one to greet him when he drove in. And and he'd be ready, like he'd have his lunchbox in hand, like ready to hand it off to whoever happened to make it first that day. And the thing was, it wasn't that we wouldn't share, it was who got to divvy up the treats, who got to be the one that it was a prize, to get Tata's Tabernacle, his lunchbox, where it was more than just a burrito, it was the love that went behind it. It was the love of him stopping at the store special every day, um, living out who he was meant to be, who he was, his role, providing for others, in the family, and just the service to others, like him and my nana both, and just what that meant to us and how cared for we felt, and coming from a broken home in a sense, and like in a single parent home back in Austin, and it was the best thing ever. And I that's where I first learned about Jesus, was in the during those summers in Arizona. And I remember walking with my nana to church, and once we got there, just the reverence that she showed, and the tears, when she would pray silently before Mass, when she was preparing for Mass, and realizing, that that's where her strength came from. That's where she was giving it all to God, everything that she struggled with. And, um, you know, it was just amazing how, looking back now, those moments are so special. And yeah, if you're gonna be bread for someone else, be unleavened.